Hey everybody, welcome back to the video. We are starting in on the 240SX T56 swap. This car is an LS swapped car from 10 years ago. It's been swapped forever and a day, and it's had a 4L80 and a 4L60 and another transmission I tried to put in, which you can scroll back and look at my videos if you want to talk or see about me talk about that. That was an 8-speed Dodge transmission that was a disaster. Well, anyway, we were putting a 6-speed in this and making this car super reliable, super basic, and super fun and super drivable. I want to put a lot of miles in this car, so I want a transmission in there that just works and is fun to drive. So I did the most obvious thing in the world, and I bought a T56 for it. So we're working on that, and you can see the trans back there. So today we're going to start talking about the pilot bearing for this thing and the different styles of pilot bearings that are available for LSs. I'm just learning this as we go, so I'm just talking about what I'm learning, so don't think that I'm the expert. I'm just doing it and talking about it. So let's take a look at what we got here, and we'll talk about measuring and dimensions and so forth. So from what I'm learning, what you need to do is measure the amount that the input shaft sticks out from the bell housing, and then that will tell you which kind of pilot bearing you're supposed to have. And I guess there's 3 different pilot bearings for LSs potentially. I didn't know that, and I've already bought one, so I don't know which one I got. And this is the one I bought. This is a Dorman. I just got this from the local parts store, and that is what I bought. So I don't know if it's correct or not, and I also don't know the orientation of this guy. There's no indication of which side goes in and out, but my research says either side can go in and out, which I find that interesting, to say the least. And personally, I want to put this side in, this side out, but I don't even know if this is the right one. So based on what I've learned, we're supposed to measure, like I said, the stick out of the input shaft there and go from there. So let's do that real quick. Okay, so you can see the arrangement of rulers I have here. I'm just measuring across the face of the transmission bell housing, and then I've got a ruler here to measure the stick out, and what we're seeing there is from the back of the wooden ruler to the end of the input shaft, we are seeing, what would you call that, 7/8, right? We are seeing pretty much exactly 7/8 of an inch of stick out. So let's take that and see what that means. Okay, so as you can see in the images that I just shared on the screen there, this thing is supposed to measure 1.094, and it does indeed measure 1.094. So, and according to that document, you can indeed install these guys any direction you want. So next step is, how do we press this guy in and not damage it and make sure it goes in smooth and everything. So the general consensus is put this thing in the freezer and get it to shrink down as small as it will. And then press it in with a socket that fits right around there if you have a socket, or I do have some press tools that might work for that. Let's take a look and see if I have one that's just right. Okay, I keep all my press tools somewhere down in here, and I always forget which drawer, so we've got to do a little dance to figure that out. Pretty sure there's some in there, but I'm also pretty sure the smaller ones are in here, so let's just pull these out and see what we got. So we just got your standard old Harbor Freight press kit here. He looks pretty good. Yeah, he looks like he would actually work just fine. So that is a China 15/16 by 1 1/16. Next question I've got to ask myself is, how the heck am I going to hold that? Because it's so short, I'm going to be hammering almost on my own fingers, and I may end up using sockets anyway, which is fine. If we did that, we would probably use the hardest sockets that I have, which are going to be my impacts, and for that we would use which socket? Let's guess and say a 19 millimeter. We guessed really good. Okay, so we got a 19 millimeter socket. Is going to be absolutely perfect. In fact, my fingers tell me it is literally perfect. That is an incredible fit. Let's get it in the air and find out what we're looking at, and then after we get the pilot bearing in there, we're going to be installing this here monster twin disc clutch that I scored from a local guy. Shout out to you, my friend, for selling me this for a good price, assuming it works out really good. Shout out. Who really knows, right? And we will be installing that clutch, and then the transmission, and then another buddy of mine, William Warwick, Bill, shout out to you. You're an absolute legend, my friend, for selling me all the hydraulics I need to install this in a 240SX for an incredibly low price. Shout out. Okay, so we're going to stick this guy in the freezer and let him chill until we are ready to install him. So he's going to live right there for at least 24 hours, if not a week or two, however long it takes me to get back to this project. For you, it'll be right now. Alright guys, so we got her up in the air and we're going to take a look and see what we're working with. Haven't really been underneath this car in several months. Kind of forgot about the state of affairs under here. I guess everything looks pretty a-okay. The back of the crankshaft has gotten a little bit rusty, I'm noticing that, but it all looks just like surface rust, so I'll probably just take a Scotch-Brite pad to that and clean all that brown rust off of there. It'll come right off. Alright, so let's get in here with a little Scotch-Brite action and see if we can get this guy cleaned out a little bit. What the surface looks like. I guess it looks okay. Alright, UPS just delivered something for me that I've been waiting on for a while. This is the new lip for the 240. Hopefully. It is the lip for the 240. Hopefully it works as we intend. So there, I scored this the other day. This is an OEM Sylvia S13 steel hood, because mine has holes cut in it and it flew open and bent backwards and it's basically beyond what I can repair. So I needed a new one and had the hardest time finding one. As you can imagine, they're rare as hen's teeth. And this one popped up an hour from my house. A friend of mine up there who parts out 240s and 300Zs and stuff had it. Made me a really good deal on it, and obviously it's got some damage, but that is no problem. We will fix all that stuff and make this thing great again. So scored a hood for the 240. Also scored this clutch pedal over here from the same guy. His name's Zach. Yeah, so clutch pedal for the 240 and a new hood, and now we got the lip. Okay, so got this dude out of the freezer. He's been in there for 24 hours, nice and cold to the touch, and then I put a little bit of grease in there, just a little bit, to maybe help things go through. And then I'm going to use this socket and hammer and see if we can tap this guy in. Hopefully it goes in nice and straight. It doesn't fight me. Oh, yep, it's already fitting in there a little bit, so I think we're going to be okay. Looking pretty good, I think. Almost there. Couple more taps and she'll be done. I think that's good enough to call it good. Still spins freely and nicely. Maybe I give it one more. I don't think it really matters, but okay. We're gonna call it right there. Alright, so that's what we're working with. That was actually way easier than I expected. I thought, or kind of feared, that was gonna give me problems. I don't know why I thought that. It just seems like hammering stuff in is always a sucky way to go. But anyway, that's the only way to do it, I guess. Good, so next step is to grab the old flywheel and clutch over here and start taking a look at what we've really got and what we need to do. I guess I need to get the flywheel on, and I need to make sure that the bolts that I've got work with this flywheel, because the ones I have are actually for an automatic flex plate, and I just now thought of that, so I hope I don't have bolt length problems. So let me look into that. Okay, so I went and got all my converter bolts, or rather my flex plate bolts from storage, and so I'm going to be using these 6 here. These are the last ones I used on my 4L 80 transmission, and I think they're going to be fine. They go through here just fine, and they appear to be plenty long enough to do the job, I think. So I don't think there's any issues at all with reusing these. So I'm probably just going to clean out the holes real quick and then get this guy mounted up. Okay guys, so a little bit of bad news. I figured something out. In that last clip I was going to torque all these guys down, and I realized that these fingers weren't not looking right. They were way too far depressed, and it was taking too long to tighten these down. And even from the beginning I thought maybe there should be a spacer or a like a cylinder, something right in here. I felt like these bolts were so long, there's no way they're going to clamp all the way down, and then there's going to be all this exposed thread. Well, I did a little research, and sure enough there is indeed supposed to be spacers on these pins right here, and I think another one here or something. I'm not sure. It's supposed to be like either 3 or 6.
So it's a good thing I didn't get it torqued down anyway.
6, because there's 6.
I guess I would have damaged that disc.
Pressure plate bolts.
So they also caught something else. They asked me to send them
pictures of the whole setup,
and they confirmed that
I'm missing spacers.
A little bit of a hassle.
Also, they confirmed that
deal to do it, but I just thought it was
bolts
strange
that you use to hold the
wanted to
flywheel
do that.
onto the crankshaft.
But I'm glad I did,
cannot
because
use
they
stock
caught something
GM
that I
bolts,
would have
which is
never
what I
seen.
used.
They said
This thing is
if you torque
supposed
this
to
down
have
paint marks on it
with stock GM bolts,
you'll damage
pressure
the
plate
friction
and
disc.
the flywheel, and you're supposed to line the paint marks up, and that's how you know the whole assembly has been balanced. I didn't even know this thing had to be balanced, so anyway, so lots of big problems here that have to be resolved before this project can get back on track. So the bottom line is the whole thing's got to come out, and I've got to send the flywheel and the pressure plate to Monster down in Texas, and they are going to check it all over for me, and they're going to balance it, and they're going to provide me with the right flywheel to crankshaft bolts, and just look it all over and make sure everything's okay. And yeah, so I got to take it all back off right now, box it up, and UPS it down to them, and then this video will probably resume at that point, or we might just switch off of this and start doing some other stuff on the car. I'm not sure, but yeah, that's where I'm at.